The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Game Podcast Network is brought to you by Nick Fantasy. Sign up promo code SGPN to get 50% deposit bonus up to 1K. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football in the NFL with Rhythm. Get a setting of your trial today. You can use sportsgames.com, RATHMM. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Game Podcast Network. It is currently Saturday evening, roughly 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on November 2nd. I'm always Scott Reichel, once again going solo for this pod. Short episode planned, only one match to talk about as his final time in the Paris Masters and preview the match between Humbert and Zverev, taking place on Sunday morning. But before that, I do want to recap what happened last week, both for the actual lock and dog picks, as well as the actual matches and some takeaways we might have had from these Saturday matches. Either way, though, starting off with the lock and dog picks, overall, kind of a similar story to the episode we had prior as we hit the lock and lost the dog. For the lock, we ran back Zverev to win the first set and the match against Rune, and he got the job done as he won in straight sets. Bit of a sweat there in the second set. Should have been a lot easier because he was up a break in the second. Got broken though serving for the match. Ended up keeping his nerve together though as he eventually got the job done in the breaker. So overall, nice job by Zverev to get the job done 7-4 in the breaker to win in straight sets. So nice win there for the lock. For the dog, not exactly a bad beat, but Kashanov did win the first set and he ended up losing as we had him on the money line at plus 120. Thought he played fine. Humbert was just a bit better as the match went on, and you eventually saw Humbert do a much better job serving in these last two sets compared to the first set, and eventually Kashanov just could not break through against Humbert as he got the job done there in 3 sets. So don't hate the actual read. We were close. Once again, Kashanov won the first set, so it wasn't exactly the worst read in the world, but didn't get there as we picked up a loss. Now, before we get into the actual breakdown of the matches in detail, want to remember once again there were plays on the actual network, not just for the tennis show, and a reminder that you can also show support for the other shows by going to the merch store. So if you want to check out the SGPN merch store, we have a lot of great Tennis Game Podcast merch with sweatshirts, t-shirts, and mugs, all high quality, all affordable. A reminder, you've also other shows. You have the NBA Gambling Podcast, the college football, or the college experience. They got college basketball coming up as well. Point is a lot of shows with the network that all have merch. So if you want to show some support and you do enjoy the picks that the actual shows on the network have, you can show some support by buying something from the merch store. Plus, a reminder, if you want to support this show, like, subscribe on YouTube, and a reminder, please leave a rating and a review on Spotify or Apple. Anyway, getting into the actual recap of the matches on Saturday. Said before, Zverev ended up winning in straight sets against Rune. Basically how I thought it would go. I thought there'd be one competitive set, but I thought that Zverev would just be too solid, especially with the serving to get the job done, and he was, as he landed 73% of the first serves, which resulted in an 81% first serve points won. So it's pretty tough to beat when you're winning basically 4/5 of all your first serve points and you land 70+% of your first serves. You're going to win most of the time. And it felt like the main difference, though, was the first serve percentage, where Zverev did end up winning 10% more on first serves, and he also won 8% more on second serves. I thought Rune played fine. He looked like he was a bit fatigued early after having the back-to-back marathon, especially the 3-setter against de Minaur in the round prior. But I thought Zverev was just too solid, and he got the job done there in straight sets. Basically the same match, though, that we saw a couple months ago in Montreal, because it was the exact same scoreline, exact same scenario, where Zverev was serving for the match, got broken, and then eventually won via breaker. But Zverev's looked good, and now I believe he's regained number 2 in the world. I don't remember if he had to win the tournament or just make the final. I'm pretty sure it was make the final. So I think Zverev now is number 2 in the world again. So we'll see what happens, but either way, point is a nice run for him in this event, as he's made the final, only dropping 1 set in the process. As for the other matchup, said before, Kashanov looked good. We know that he was in great form, winning 10 of 11, and then Humbert kind of buckled down. We saw Humbert get a break, I'd say, midway through the second set, and since that point, he kind of coasted, as he ended up getting the break to win the set in the 2-2 game, and then he held, but he did not actually face a break point in the last 2 sets combined. So he was overall just really, really on point with the serve. Actually, so point is he faced a break point in the 1-2 game, but after that, when he got the break to go up 3-2, he didn't face a break point for the rest of the match. So basically the last set and a half, he ended up not having that much stress on his service games, and he got the job done there as he won in straight sets. Very good hardcourt player. We know that he was in great form entering the event, especially based on how he did in Tokyo, losing in the final to Humbert. Humbert, I should say, lost in the final to Fees. And then afterwards, he was kind of up and down, but fatigue could have played a factor there, came back to France, and he's definitely used the crowd, I'd say, energy to his advantage, and he has been playing great tennis. But Humbert might be the most I'd say, underrated hardcore player on tour. We saw him win a couple hardcore titles this year. He won one in Dubai. Saw him win one in the first couple months of the season. Point is, he has been in good form. And it does seem like he is definitely poised to potentially win another title this year, especially this one being special with him being in his home country. Either way, though, nothing else to really add. Once again, the Kashanov match is very fun. The Zverev match was full of, I'd say, a bit of drama at the end, but it was mostly straightforward as Zverev was just that solid, and now Zverev's a massive favorite here in the final. Anyway, before we get into the actual preview for the final between Zverev and Humbert, I want to remember once again that we have more promos going on with the network because you can show some support for other shows with the network. If you want to, once again, show support, you can head to Spotify, give us a 5-star rating and a review. And a reminder, only you can help prevent corporate gambling from taking over. We're also brought to you by Underdog, because Underdog Fantasy does have a pick'em, which has a lot of great items on their menu. They have the NFL, college football, they have MMA, NBA, NASCAR, tennis, and more. Boostober's upon us, which means you're getting a spooky amount of profit boost and much more. Reminder, you can use specials and boosts on Reflex entries. And for the upcoming entry, I'm going to fade another bad quarterback. Give me Bryce Young, higher half interception in his game against the Saints. But a reminder, sign up the promo code SGPN. The code special can first time deposit offer up to 1K in bonus cash on a fantasy promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Scaling Podcast. Just finished recapping what happened on Saturday. Time to move on into the Sunday final in Paris. Look at a matchup between Humbert and Zverev. Now, for this one, Zverev's a massive favorite. He's around minus 250. Humbert is around plus 210. For the spread, you have minus 2.5 for Zverev. You have plus 2.5 for Humbert. Bit of plus money, though, on the plus 2.5 at around plus 103. For the games, you have over 23 or over 22.5. And for the actual set spread, Zverev in straight sets is plus 120. You have Humbert to win a set at minus 150, and you have the over 2.5 sets at around plus 135. For team total, you have Humbert over 12 at minus 120, and you have Zverev over 13 at minus 120 as well. Now, it is pretty fascinating because we do have a rematch of last year, because they faced off in Paris, actually, last year in the exact same event, and Zverev did win, but that was a final set breaker. In fact, each of the last two sets did go to breakers. The point is they faced off already on this court last year, and Zverev did win, but the point is the match was very close, and you ended up seeing Zverev, who was vulnerable, but he eventually got the job done, winning the final set breaker 7-5. So I guess based on that, look at the actual path of both players. Zverev has been coasting. He's only dropped one set, beaten really good competition every step of the way. Beat Griekspoor in the first match, not easy. Beat Fies, not easy in 3. Beat Tsitsipas, who was in pretty good form for the first couple rounds, and ended up beating Rune in the semifinal match. As for Humbert, he's had an easier path. Beat Nakashima in 3 sets, beat Giron in straight sets, beat Alcaraz in 3, beat Thompson in straight sets, and beat Kashanov, who is in great form, in 3 sets. So Zverev's faced off against better competition, and he's won more convincingly. But the question is, should he really be minus 250 when Humbert's won multiple hardcore titles this year, and Humbert's also in his home country with a lot of crowd support? I'll put it this way. I think that Zverev should be favored, but 250 feels steep. I think it should be closer, in my opinion, to around minus 190, minus 180, if I had to price it myself. 2 career head-to-head meetings mentioned before that Zverev barely won in the meeting in Paris last year. Faced off on grass and Halle back in 2021, and Humbert did win in 3. So both meetings, yes, one was on grass and it was dated. The other one was this exact same environment last year. Point is, though, both meetings went the distance, and I do think that Humbert stylistically can give Zverev some problems based on his overall firepower and based on his, I'd say, unorthodox lefty play style. With the firepower he has, and especially the serves out wide, I think can definitely take Zverev out of his comfort zone in the return game. But I think for the sake of this matchup, I think Zverev's probably going to win, but I think Humbert is definitely live, and I think that he's mispriced. So for the value, I don't mind Humbert on the money line if you want to make a, I'd say, large sprinkle on the actual match. For the actual breakdown, though, I do think that Humbert plus the 3 games at around minus 145 is worth something. I don't mind the over in this too. Once again, both meetings did go to a deciding set, so I do think you might see history repeat itself in this one. Also like the over in the match, obviously, for games. But the over 2.5 sets is plus 135. I like that price quite a bit. I think it's a good deal, and I do think that Humbert is going to really give Zverev all he can handle. Not sure if he's going to be able to actually get the job done, but I don't see a lopsided matchup. I see a close war, and if that's the case, I am going to go with the over and the dog to keep it interesting. Now, I do think that the one thing I have to focus on here, at least for the, I'd say game plan for Zverev, or one important factor, the first serve percentage. We know that Zverev's second serve can be a bit vulnerable at times, and double faulting can be an issue at times for him as well. But he's a pretty good overall first serve guy in terms of percentage. If Zverev does hit his first serve, I'd say 70+%. I think he's going to win. If he ends up hitting it, I'd say below 65, then I think you got a decent chance for Humbert. But I do think that if Zverev's able to hit his spot that he has all week, he's very tough to break when he's serving that well. And I think that Humbert is going to make life difficult for him. Maybe you see a bunch of long rallies. Maybe the crowd gets involved cheering for some double faults. But I think you're looking at Zverev being the better player. And the fact is he is number 2 in the world. But for the value, I am going to go with the dog plus the games, plus the overall set spread to a +1.5. Don't mind the over in games as a whole, and I don't mind the potential sprinkle on the money line for Humbert in the match. Besides that, nothing else to really add. Was thinking of something else to talk about, but I have no props. I have no aces, no double faults, anything like that. So I think we're basically done with the recap. Now it's time for the lock and dog pick for the show. But I want to remind you once again that we are brought to you by Rhythm, because Rhythm is the AI-powered sportsman platform that will provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive models in seconds. And a reminder, you can get predictions on every money line, spread, total, and prop. And a reminder, you build your own model. You can copy a model from the leaderboard or press build model for me. And we'll give you a prediction in seconds on every game and player props. Also, a bunch of stats, research, and analysis to give you more betting insight for really, once again, a variety of sports. They have college football, they have the NFL, they have the NBA, a lot of options there. They even have golf. But a reminder that Rhythm did go 24-3 with their props for the NBA Night 1. And a reminder, you can try it out for free for a week. 7-day free trial by going to sportsgame.com, Rhythm, sportsgame.com, RATHMM. We're also brought to you by BetUS. Been around for more than 30 years. And a reminder, you can use a deposit using crypto. And you can also get lightning fast payouts. US players are always welcome. And a reminder that if you go to sportsgame.com, BetUS, sportsgame.com, BetUS, you can use the promo code SGPN. So we'll send you BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast. Just finished previewing the final in Paris between Zverev and Humbert for Sunday. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. For the lock, I am going to go to Humbert plus the 3 at -145. Faced off last year in this event, and we saw Humbert cover the spread. You had 2 separate tie breaks in this one. We know the pace has been very fast at the courts here, and Humbert's been serving well. You might get a breaker or two in this matchup, but I do think that Humbert is being disrespected here with the crowd advantage and based on his overall form. I get that Zverev's been playing well, but I do think that Rune and Tsitsipas are head cases, and I do think that Humbert is going to be pretty solid, but I mostly think that Zverev's going to struggle maybe with some nerves with a shot to win another 1,000 title. I think Humbert will keep it interesting for a while. Might not win, but I can see him winning a set here, and I think that 3 games is a pretty good deal. You might get a 7-6, 6-4, which is a push to no harm, no foul. But the point is, I do think you're looking at a spot where Humbert can win a set, can make it close, and I think that 3 games is a pretty decent deal at -145. So I'll go with that as my lock. For my dog, I am going to go with the over 2.5 sets at +135. Humbert's been kind of a 3-set magnet recently, as he has gone to a deciding set in 6 of his last 8 matches. So he has been playing relatively, once again, well, but a bit streaky at times, because he has been winning sets, dropping others, and finding a way to get the job done. But based on winning, or once again, most of these matches, and a lot of them going to a deciding set, I think Humbert is going to be, once again, willing to go down swinging if he goes down in the first set. And I think that he might be able to respond and win the second. But I think Humbert is a guy who, once again, has been kind of gravitating towards marathons, which might bode well for him here, and maybe for us, since we do like the over in sets. Plus, I mentioned before, faced off twice in their careers, including a meeting last year, and both meetings did not end in straight sets. Give me a close battle here, but I think +135 is a very good deal with both guys that are playing top 10 caliber tennis. Humbert, we know, has been playing great for the last couple weeks, and as for Zverev, was in a bit of a slump, but he bounced back, and now he's in a final of a 1,000 again. Point is, give me a close matchup that comes down to the wire. I am going to go with the over 2.5 sets as my dog at +135. So once again, my picks for the final on Sunday in Paris. The lock's going to be on Humbert +3 at +3 games at -145. For the dog, I am going to go with Humbert and Zverev over 2.5 sets at +135. For the game plan for next week, going to cover 2 events. We have Belgrade and we have Metz. So you have the return of clay tennis. We have clay in Belgrade and we have hard court in Metz. So once again, decent assortment. We're going to cover both those outrights in the next episode. Till then, find me on Twitter, RHL Radio. Find me on the NBA show, WNBA show, and find me on the MLB show as well. And a reminder, don't forget to like, subscribe on YouTube to the podcast, and don't forget to leave a rating and a review on Spotify or Apple. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.